Okay, so our second feature, Michael Giotis, writes poetry, fiction, and theory to understand how the banal connects with the universal. Every moment exists of itself, and making choices in an irrational world is possible at all. That seems particularly relevant right now.
Mhm.
His poetry collection, Daybreak, was published in 2018. Michael is a 2020 Austin International Poet and is published in 2 languages, Greek and English. He is also director of the Meta Project, a collaboration between poets across cultural and cognitive divides. A proud homemaker, group strategy facilitator, and father to 2 boys and 1 puppy, he hopes this paragraph finds you well. Welcome, Michael.
I'm waiting for the puppy to burst in any moment.
It probably will happen.
Hopefully. Here's a bit of advice. Don't respond now. I'll just put it out there. Explain myself a little, if you don't mind. Outline the point. Flesh out the details until I see you have it. And then you just sit on it. For a couple days, a week, I don't know. That's not my advice. How long to mull it over. You know yourself better than I do. We've known each other a long time, that's true. Had our share of adventures and crises, sure, some of those. We usually posited demise by some same old plot device, playing into a trap of our own. It all started like that, you know? Real intense, conspiratorial, vengeful. But that shit burns out. Society went over real quick. There are other societies, that's true. But are there? That's just me, you know yourself best. After all these years, I still can't speak for you. So that's Ex Hominem. That's the first poem from my collection, Daybreak, which was published last year. And when I booked this last year, I was imagining perhaps, as Shauna pointed out, that we would be together. And perhaps I'll book one for next year. And then not only will we be together, but we can cuddle and squeeze each other and be in a big cuddle puddle. We'll move all the tables out of Aquas and put pillows down, and we'll roll around on the floor, and there'll be wine and weed and poetry, and it'll be amazing. Normally, you wouldn't want to follow a performance like Shauna's, but in this case, actually, it's been very helpful to me because I feel inspired now. And I'm not gonna lie, coming into this, I didn't feel as inspired. It's a tough time for everyone. One thing I love about art, I also have a foot in the business world, but what I love about the art world is you can be honest. If you feel shitty, you just come and tell people. Feel shitty. I don't feel shitty now though. I did before, but now I feel great. So thanks to Shauna for that. Thanks to Sandra for organizing this and having me now and through the open mics through the last couple of years. And John and the Alcus crew for organizing. I'd like to thank my wife for this haircut. Richard for wearing a mask for safety first. Thank you, Richard, for taking all of our safety into account. And this poem's called Hooking Up. I'm a top and you're a bottom. Together we stack into a feathered territory ruled with an iron fist. Or so I imagine. But there is no you and me or us, or even we, as in we'll be there together. We never are together. You're not a sub. I'm not your dom. Wake up. This is a curious booty call in the style of people wholly different than us. Sweaty, sexy revelers at a crowded dance party, which is not lonely like this windy, cold California coast of a bed. Under a couple of people like us, which is to say, like anyone, in any state, at any time. Suicide bombers make better lovers. Kenny, we only had that one night. We could have been friends. We were, I suppose, much more than I was a father to my cause or a bumbling, unhandy junkie from a line of carpenters. We had laughs. You rhymed for us out from your hip-hop blood and marveled backstage with a beer-lit smirk as I bounced my girlfriend on one knee and my lover on the other. This surprised even me, sitting cocky between them, ready to die for the good life. Everyone was all drunk, and the big plans were drawn up. The plan was this: to be right here and never give in. So this was meant to be my last show on this sort of promotional tour that didn't really happen. Some of it happened online, but most of it just didn't happen. So as such, I'm going to read a poem or two that I might not have otherwise read. But these are a couple of memorial poems to people in my family, and I would just like to invoke their presence. So this is for my papu, my father's father. It's not my most honest poem, I'm not going to lie. I lie in the poem, but I won't lie to you. Okay, it's called The Roots. Greatness needs no notion to guide. Its path cannot be determined. As the mountain rises before it knows its form, a man takes shape over private eons, but perhaps never recognizes his height. For at the peak, the sun, the air, all types of clouds and still greater marvels astonish the soul. We acknowledge you, yet you always heed the higher. Always bow to the higher, always heed the call. Every year could be your last, you repeat. God can wait a little longer, I shush, supporting you on my arm in the familiar way. Thank you, Maki, you laugh, kind and human and eternal. I knew then it was our last moment. No child of earth can direct God. The streams of our village were already washing, piece by piece, the mountain to the embrace of the sea. I'm going to do a couple of short poems. I'm a fan of short form poetry. And then I'm going to do a long ass poem, and you're just going to have to pour a glass of wine or something, because that's going to be a while. All right. Without a clue, a mystery can't even begin. Without a kiss, a girl can't be in even the softest of hearts, the way you're not in mine. Ingenuity burns like the countryside, and tired old dreams die stubbornly in their homes, which have stood for generations, but will be raised forever. The flutter of the crowd gradually copies itself and becomes, if only for an instant, an arrow, a pillow, a direction, a home. All right, smoke them if you got them. It's going to take a while. This is 0G. The spirits of collage and totalism coexist in the body of one fleet-hearted swallow darting the cables of civil engineering, human endeavor, no more challenge than mosquitoes in the park. Life calls for endless barrel rolling. It's been 10 years. You don't say, but I do. 10 years. Trickle down here and give me your ear. An ocean far too long burnt, soaked in alcohol in a saucepan on the stoop, reappears and lets loose memory's dragon pups from their leads to tear at the soft and armored words alike. There were so many false steps. Self-destructive heroism sequeled in drunk dial odyssey from all-night eateries, wayward sentences drown unarticulated. The beauty of prosperity offered to everyone to be earned by each in his or her own way, heaping plates of food efficiently served to all members of the family equally. Though leftovers are fair game, the dark counterpart is hard to discern, fluttering among papers and urine, under the humming vessels of Metropoleon. Overpasses convey only those who drive. 10 years old, my son, how you've grown so close to reality, yet forgotten the way lessons learned thin over time. Has it been a generation already? Differences will emerge, boy, from the absolute absence of you. When did I dream? I lied awake in my formative years and did nothing less than I could have imagined doing, dissecting my life to no purpose. The reason and promise of God, if you will, the purpose, I mean to say, of those days or the nights, which were which, I never followed well. Purpose, you say? Now just what is that? Wake up, baby, there's bad news. To wake up from 86 hours of rails is to blink hopelessly for meaning. Cobain is dead, she says over the handset. I record the silhouettes of my best friends moping past guest-bedded sofas in early suburban light. A plumber found his body. There can be no allegiance, swear to it. Ah, what was it all for, the autonomy? For you, young dreamer, for the future of children never seen through. When the revolution comes and nothing changes, fuck off. We still won't give up. I've been born again, yet still with brown eyes. She told me some poets try to be understood. I said, some never understand. I made a promise to myself and it's ruined everything. Everything, let go of hope, of freedom, let go of choice. Throughout the Aegean, oh, I'm here again, the thunder and seagulls hammer the islands the Greeks call Kyklades, the circle, among them Delos, the birthplace of Apollon, and another island where I might die. I'll have no choice in the matter. If I'm lucky, I'll choose the manner, at least. Let go. 10 years to go. I have to keep every word safe and insecure from the hounds of, did I say insecure? I meant secure. Didn't I hope one day to be secure in grace, in solitude, in portrait for a never paint? Pull your talent back together and reveal to me my colors inside. You said you wanted me once, just to get even, and I ignored you. You smoked H then, left me alone to paint my own portrait. I never saw you again, lost out on the view. A window can fool the subtlest flyer with its clarity. Yeah, to want what's inside when you have the whole world to swoop around. Hit clarity and you'll drop like a stone, like promise. Missed opportunities are the stuff of life. Boy, to be alive and in my arms? Or would you be too old now for daddy's kisses? Would I have already sung my last spooky lullaby to your dopey rolling eyes? Your soupy fucking eyes? The principle of the thing is this. Stand up straight, look him in the eye, and weep. Just weep, because he's dead. He chose to die for prosperity, or I finally thought straight and said, okay, I know, we can't keep it. Clarity, what a trap. The eye of the eagle locks, talons stretch toward the river of will's influence, that flower of supple ego which gives the fish up as fruit to perpetuity. To family, I say, we are not. There is no struggle. The bounty is carried away. It's not a anti-abortion poem. It's an abortion sucks poem. For all, I would say, in my experience. Abortion is an interesting issue because it's nobody feels good about, yet we won't even consider seeking solutions to something like that. And I feel like that's kind of the place where we are as a society. We're not even capable of thinking about seeking solutions. I'm not a solution person. As Shauna says, the world may keep breaking, but solving is something we can incorporate into who we are a little better. That being said, you'll notice these poems are really old. They're like as much as 20 years old, 20 to probably 14 years old, the most recent. But they were sitting on my table when my son was born, and they stayed there for a long time. And I was at Rivertown Poets that I first came to perform again after 25 years or something. So again, thank you, Sandra, for all you do here and in the classrooms and everything. That means that they're from a different time, and sometimes I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the lack of resonance to their present moment. The last one's okay, but some of them. I've been, I guess I want to say, I began my anti-racist journey with a group of poets called the Berkeley Poetry Slam. They do a bunch of Rich Oak poets and Oakland Poetry Slam. But the Berkeley Poetry Slam was the one I started going to about a year ago, and just started listening. And I performed there once, but I'm not a slam style poet, so it didn't really go over that well. But I really connected with those people, and it's a very POC place and a very queer space. And so I felt adjacent, but I just kind of realized that anti-racist is different than adjacent to people of color and even allyship. So I do have a poem called Brianna. It's just not ready yet, but I will say the effort there is to talk about her life and what her life was like that day when she fell asleep, and how intense I'm sure it was. So I just don't have it. I'll come back to open mic and I'll bring it when it's ready. It kind of leaves out any reference to her death, and I'm just not comfortable with that right now, because it's the death that has us in the streets or otherwise engaged. So I do have some new poems I'm going to read now. And I've noticed among my new poetry a couple of threads, some of the personal stuff like what I just read from, and some what I call critical poetry, which is more like some of the theory coming in through poetic form, and then some Taoist or spiritual poetry. So I'm going to read a couple of those. I'll be done. To the curious, you're not better than anybody else. The way your dainty fingers of interest unlace known from unknown, your strong arms of persuasion compel. The way, the fire you invented burns the future. Pressure is one of your tools, and rigor, dogged determination, certainty. It's one way to be. Others just aren't curious. To the curious, you have knowledge in your hands, just not the truth. That would be one of the critical ones. This would be one of the Taoist ones. I've never called them Taoist ones before, but I don't know, now I am. Revealing, it's a COVID poem, revealing. Early COVID, actually, isn't it interesting that early COVID is almost a nostalgic time? Everybody slowed down, we got nervous, but we got to quiet and get space. I spent time with my kids, we rode bikes, and people commented on that, like things like, oh, listen to the birds. So this is a COVID bird. A rock wren roams far and wide, but in the morning, just waking up, he sings to his neighbors. In the afternoon, he comes back, sits low on a branch where you can see him, because barn swallows get frisky then, and too often dart overhead, their one-sided loop shifting in the wind. So the same wren hunches on a low branch to twitter excitedly outside your window each afternoon. You never noticed before. The lowdown. What do you mean, survive? I mean, first the states won't hold together. Then, as the pressures of climate change mount, General governance will break down. Other nations will fall. The compliance of the world's largest economy to ecological requirements, the world distribution system won't be resilient enough to stable in the changed, more volatile, what? The name changes, but you know. The nation state is exposed as the wrong scale for the challenge. And without a global distribution and wellness system already in place, much less an ecologically sustainable one, we're fucked. It falls to regionally stable distribution to provide for the fundamental needs of what humans it can. So what's the plan? Get to know your neighbors. Back to Taoism. Thoughts reveal themselves in heartbeats. Who decides to stay or go? Words follow and actions push out. Where's the meaning in either? World pushes back and makes us. How is it we are formed? Water and bed pressed together, making a river. Do you have time for one more? I'm going to take that as a yes, because I don't hear anything. I don't hear a no, so I'm going to take it as a yes.
Yes, I have muted myself too. Yes, more would be great, Michael.
By the way, you know, it's only a few bucks. If you buy it, I'll give the money to charity. And you can find it at Copperfields if you're here in the North Bay, or it's an actual published book, so you can get it on you know, you can order it from Uncle Bobby's in New York. You can have them order it for you and send it. I'm not going to say that other conglomerate thing. So Uncle Bobby's or Copperfields. This one invokes my mom because I super wish she was here among all you folks today. There's nothing out the window now. No storm, nor fog, nor daybreak rolling off its side of the horizon. Tomorrow, waking up is today. There's no day out the front door. No time for one last walk through the golden hills of twilight. Mom, some things just don't get done. Photo albums sit stacked and empty as they always have been. All things today are as they've always been. So go join the universe. You were one of its best parts. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing your poetry as well. Thanks, Sandra.
Oh, wanted to unmute everyone so we can applaud.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Beautiful, Michael.
Really covered a lot of territory in that reading.
Yeah.